Hey, it's Scott once again with great resources for coaches. And today I'm coming to you from a different setting. I've been trying to, as you've probably recognized over the last few months, come to you from different places. Well, today I am at some property that we own in western Montana. As many of you know, we live in Montana. We live in a town called Livingston, which is east of Bozeman. It's in the south central portion of the state, just north of Yellowstone Park, about an hour. And but we have property over here in the western part of the state, between a little town called Superior and a little town called St. Regis. And back over that way, that hill that you see back there behind those trees is on the other side of a creek that you might be hearing. That's called Dry Creek, and that runs right through our property here. And this is kind of our little slice of Montana heaven, if you will. You know, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. We've got our 5 acres here, and there's a 5-acre plot next to us with nothing on it, a 5-acre plot past that with a really nice home, and a 5-acre plot right here with a nice home, and that's it. We're about 3 miles up a road, and then just past that guy's house, there's a couple more lots that don't have anything on them, but after that it's all Forest Service back through for miles and miles. You can actually go over to Idaho through a back road up here, and yeah, it's pristine. It's exactly what I looked for when I wanted to move to Montana 25 years ago. But that's not the point of today's video, to give you a little bit of geography and a little bit of a glimpse into my life. What happened was I thought, you know, I like to do these in different spots, and so I do one here while I was here for the weekend to kind of getting the place in shape for the summer. This is the first time I've been here since last fall. We come in the summers and falls, and but I got to thinking. I was putting on my boots just now to come out and get a little work done to finish up because I'm heading back home. And as I put my boot on, I was putting the one boot on, I could feel the smallest, tiniest pebble in there, and I started to tie my boot up, and then I thought, wait a minute, I got to get that out of there. And I thought, oh, there's a good little analogy here, because I've had many times where I didn't take that little pebble out. I could feel something, might not have been a pebble, might have just been a piece of grass, whatever it was, and I just said, well, what the heck, I'll be fine. And lo and behold, a little while into a walk or whatever I would be doing, you could feel that thing, and it never leaves, and it's always there. It rolls into different spots, but it's a constant pain. It's constantly creating kind of pain, annoyance, whatever you might call it. Now, if I was going out on a hike and I had that in there, that could prove to be detrimental, because if you keep that little pebble or whatever is in there that's rubbing or causing problems, you know, in terms of just the annoyance in terms of your walking, that could prove to be a real problem for you on a hike, and could lead to blisters. It could lead to issues. And so some of you might be thinking, well, where are you going with this? What's the analogy? Well, the analogy is what about kids in your program that are like that little pebble? They're fine, they're not that big of a problem, but they cause enough of a problem in your program that if you don't address them and you don't deal with them in some way, they fester and they start to create annoyances that eventually can become real pains. And this happens in programs and in sports all across the world. We allow players to stay in our programs and continue to be the annoyance that they've been, generally because of one of a few reasons. One is they're talented and you don't want to lose them. 2 is they might be the personality type that, man, if you call them on things, they can be a real pain that way, and you just don't want to deal with that. And maybe you're not a confrontational person. I'm not a confrontational person, but I learned real early in my career, thankfully, because of the people I learned to coach from and coach with. You have to address people, and you have to hold them accountable for their actions. And so, just like that little pebble that I dropped out of that boot, I need to deal with this player in some fashion. Now, I'm not saying we're going to drop them right away, but at times that might be what you end up doing. That might be how you end up dealing with them. But more than anything, rather than getting rid of them, maybe let's work to get rid of the behavior. Let's work to get rid of whatever it is that's causing the annoyance, that's causing the problem in your program. It's about holding kids accountable. It's about holding people accountable. This isn't only kids. Sometimes it's our assistant coaches. Sometimes we're the problem, and our athletic director or the principal or somebody has to come and talk to us and deal with us. And so the point of today's little video lesson is, let's make sure that we don't allow the problem people in our programs to roll around and continue to create more and more annoyance and problems and fester and build and grow to a point where they've created real issues and maybe even real damage. We must address them. And if that means you eventually do have to get rid of them, so be it. Sometimes that is the only answer. Now, I'm not saying, as I said before, I'm not saying that's the first answer. You know, we want to work with those kids or those people. We want to try our best to bring them on board, get them, you know, committed to doing things the way we want them in our program and need them in our program. But eventually, at some point, you're going to have a time where you make a decision. Is this person worth keeping or not? And then you're going to have to make that call. Just like I had to make that call on that little pebble in my boot. It wasn't going to matter too much. I'm not going out for a hike. I'm just putting things away here on the property before I take off. And so I could have handled that just fine. And then I'll be driving for, 4 hours. So it's not going to be bothering me while I'm driving. But I also realized it would be enough of a detriment, enough of a problem that I just got to get rid of it right now. So coaches, consider how you deal with the people in your programs that are creating problems for your programs and figure out the best way to handle them, whether that be work with them and get them to change, or eventually get rid of them. This is Scott once again. Hope you're having a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.